What's up, guys? Welcome to Reseller's Life. My name is Chris. Thank you so much for joining me. In today's episode, we're going to go over 3 steps you need to take over the next 6 months to master reselling. Pretty straightforward advice. If you guys enjoy this type of content, please smash the like button and consider subscribing as I give 1 to 3 actionable tips every single video to improve your online store. So number 1 is get great at one category. I'm going to explain what I mean by this. Being great is you understanding the market conditions on one SKU or one category, and you're not going to be able to do this overnight. It's going to take some time. And the most important part to recognize is that it doesn't matter what category it is, because it can transfer to something else. All you need to do is learn how to do it. I'm going to quantify it in a different respect. Let's try to get to $100 profit in one category. So you guys know my 10 by 10 by 10 idea that I took from Scott Volker. He used to have a podcast called The Amazing Seller. I think it's been rebranded to something to do with personal brand. But the concept of having 10 items that sell 10 times a day for $10 profit is too much too soon. So let's do 1 by 10 by 10. Let's figure out one product that you can either rank or one category like pre-owned shoes or suits, or maybe you're a drop shipper and you want to focus on hanging plants, one category. Get really great at this over the next 6 months. And it doesn't really matter what you want. I want you to maybe pause the video and write this down. It doesn't really matter what you want. What really matters is what you do consistently. Okay, so if you consistently focus on one category for 4 hours a day, you have a great chance at the end of 6 months to be great at that category. You're going to understand where it comes from. That is the main advantage to focusing on one category, is you can do sourcing in the respect of finding out where it is sourced from. You want to find the category that you're selling. Let's say that what you're trying to sell is Pliny the Elder beer, right? You decide you want to sell in the beer category. What you would do is you would get some and you would look on the bottle and it says right at the bottom, Russian River Brewing Company. And you could go straight to the source. You could drive up there to Russian River, go to the brewery and buy it. If you had a bar or a liquor store, you can arrange to try to get an agreement with them for them to distribute it to you directly. You would learn that if you just focus. But if you sell one of everything, you will never get good enough at one category, and then you'll never build the 10 by 10 by 10. So again, doesn't matter what you want. Focus on what you repeatedly do. So what you repeatedly do is get great at one category. There's an analogy that I want to bring up that is related, and this story is from my days working a corporate job. And so before we go on the second step, I'm going to share this story. So I used to work for Lexus. And I had asked my boss, I'm consistently in the top 2 salespeople every single month here. What is above my position? And he said, well, there's 3 positions above you. Sales manager, finance manager, and general manager. And as the owner, I will not hire you for any of these 3 jobs for the reason that you are not married and buried. You have too much freedom. You can do whatever you want. You could leave, but I'm looking for people who are kind of desperate and I need people who are locked into this position. So if you have a lot of debt and kids and all this overhead and pressure, that's a better person for the manager position, because I'm going to be investing a lot of resources into you. And I want someone that's going to stick for a while. So the skills required, obviously there are certain skills, but he's also looking for a certain demographic of person to work in that position. So that being said, I at that time was insulted a little bit, because I was like, I don't want to do this forever. I at least want to move up if I have to have a job. So I applied at the biggest Lexus store in California, which is Lexus of Stevens Creek. And this is interesting because the general manager there, the highest position in the dealership, did not have any experience in the car business. In fact, his previous job was professional baseball player. Now, he skipped every single job in the dealership and went from professional baseball player to general manager of a gigantic dealership. Okay, they were talking, multiple six-figure job, like well into the 200,000-300,000 range or more job positions, skipped every other job. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because, one, it shows you how important networking is. If you meet the right people, you may land an opportunity, but you also have to have the chops to do the work. And being a professional baseball player is probably more difficult as far as if you look at the work required and how hard it is to reach that level of something. That dedication to the craft of learning how to do something, plus putting yourself in a position where you would meet the owner of a company, that's pretty rare. So it actually, now looking at it, it doesn't surprise me that he skipped every single position and went straight to the top. But I think about all those people that were skipped and didn't become friends with the owner, but maybe had the technical chops to do that job, but were skipped. So you need to do two things, which brings me to my second point. Number one, you need to get really good at one category. Number two, you need to network with people that will actually help you reach your goal. So make networking part of your routine every single week. Because again, I'm going to repeat this many times in this video. It doesn't matter what you want. It's just what you repeatedly do that ends up being who you are. Okay, so you're going to, number one, get really great at a category. Number two, network with people who can get you to where you want to be. So as an example, I want to run a certain store at a certain size. Interestingly enough, I've talked to the largest eBay sellers before, but that doesn't really apply to me. That's like 100 levels above where I am. I've spoken to PharmaPacks, and they are the largest Amazon FBA seller, and in the top 100 eBay stores. They have over 100 employees and do more than $1 million a day in sales. If I wanted to do that, right, I wanted to build a company like theirs, then it probably makes sense for me to visit them, go there, figure out what the owner does, what does his day look like, and you start to learn a few things. One, I know that they wanted to be an online retail store. They're not a resale company. They're essentially an online pharmacy. So if I wanted to go the route of making my own online pharmacy, then I should do what they did and network with pharmacists and people who run retail, because I want to become like them. So I consider this kind of like a cheat code for life, even though it's not. It's more like common sense, but as we know, that's not so common. You pick someone who's already in the position that you are at, and two things. One, learn from them, see what skills are required. And two, maybe you can actually have a day in the life of what that actually looks like. So the CEO of PharmaPacks, what he essentially does all day is speak to the other managers that run different departments, the technical team that's building the software and the website. And something very fascinating about PharmaPacks is they've built their company on other platforms first. So they're the largest Amazon seller. They're one of the largest eBay sellers, and they also have their own website. So it's great because they were able to leverage eBay and Amazon as their marketing partners, which is very smart, because building a website to get traffic to go to pharmapacks.com would have been insanely expensive, because who knows what that is. And the word PharmaPacks to me that might be a pharmacy, but it's not, it's not name brand. They're essentially competing with Walgreens, CVS, Duane Reade, or whatever drugstore you have in your area. But getting it so PharmaPacks is a household name is probably extraordinarily expensive. So it's interesting that they went to eBay and Amazon to push their products first. So number one, get great at the category. Number two, make networking part of your daily. Before we get into number three, smash that like button and consider subscribing as I try to give you the most actionable tips to help your store out immediately. So number three, this is a doozy. I want everyone to present themselves as a business, not as an individual. So as an example, I had some consulting calls last week. I am offering some consulting. I'll put that in the description below. The first person I talked to buys inventory by the truckload, because according to this person, that's the cheapest way to buy inventory. You call up a liquidation center or distribution and you say, I'll take all of it. And then that gives you the leverage to get the deal at the cheapest. And then he said, okay, I don't have that much time, so what I'm going to do is pick the best 100 to 150 items a week, list it myself. I don't want employees. I want to do it at home. I enjoy the process. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of stuff in a truckload. 100 to 150 items is probably 5 or 10% of the truck. Now, there's 90 or 95% going into his death pile. He may have the space or the resources to just hang on to that inventory, but it's kind of inefficient. So the solution that he initially thought of was, let's get a company to handle the other stuff, not a person. So there's the headache of bringing people in-house that work for you. You've got to hire people. You've got to screen people and get the people in-house working for you, and that takes time. Or you could just hire a company to take care of it for you. And so what he did was his father-in-law made a company, taking the stuff out of the death pile, listing it, and then he gets a percentage of that store. Now, this is fascinating because I have presented myself as the company to other companies before, but didn't secure the deal because their inventory was being mixed in with my inventory, and it wasn't a clean division. It was difficult for them to understand because, of course, the liquidator wants to get the most for their money, but they also don't want to keep track. So what I thought was fascinating was you have a separate store that's all their inventory. Makes it super simple. They can check in. They want to maximize their money. If they're working on a consignment basis with you, they want to make sure they're getting the most out of their money, but they also don't want to do any work. So it's nice looking at that, the way that that is set up, because I would love to hire a business to help me. This is why I use Dropbox and Google Drive. I don't want to hire Bob's storage service out of Santa Cruz, California to do it for me because I don't trust them. I don't know them, right? That's confusing. It's just Bob offering that service. I want to deal with a company that only does that. So that's something that I want people to start thinking about. How do you present yourself as a company so that other companies will want to work with you, and now you have a business-to-business relationship, so you are the solution to their recurring problem. Their habit is using you to solve their problem. And that's the best position to be in, right? You want to be their habit. You want to be their recurring revenue. You want them to, you want to be partners, and that way you can have some longevity. This would be the difference between you going to 10 thrift stores every single week versus your friends with 10 thrift store managers. They hold the inventory that you're looking for. Their trucks go out every week to deliver, for local pickups, because on the thrift stores near me, they all have local pickup available. So if you had 10 relationships with 10 thrift store managers or 10 thrift store owners, the local ones, not Goodwill, and you buy all of their X, Y, and Z products, and you have a contract with them. So those X, Y, and Z products come in, they send it to Bay Area liquidation. Those trucks deliver it to Bay Area liquidation on their route once a week. So now you have inbound inventory every single week coming from a company. That's much more stable than going out there one by one. So this is something that really struck me as the 3 things that everyone needs to get great at. Get great at reselling in one category or retailing. Start networking with people who do what you want to do. There's somebody at every single level. And then present yourself as a business. So one more story. I'm going to link this in the description below. I was watching Graham Stephan's channel and listening to a 22-year-old that makes $500,000 per year. I thought this was extraordinary. That's very high. I mean, he's essentially making more money per month than some people make in their entire lives, and he's 22 years old. How did he do it? And he did it essentially with the same steps that I just described. So he wanted to be in the video game industry and the programming computer science niche. So he went on the YouTube, taught himself how to program, enrolled in classes online, and started learning. Then he figured, okay, I need to get a job. So when you're 14, which is when he started, you can't work because there's child labor laws. So he was only able to do like a couple of hours of after school work, then eventually dropped out of high school, got a $50,000 job with the company, negotiated higher pay by saying to them, I have the skills required for this position. I want that position. Taught himself the skills required, moved up, then recognized, oh, wow, I can only earn $100 or $200 an hour max working for somebody else. I want to make more than that. So I have to transition from being very, very skilled at one niche, which is computer science in this case, to becoming a business owner. So from the age of 18 to 22, he became a multimillionaire, became a partner or owner in many different companies. And now when people ask him, oh, you seem so young, he can answer, well, yes, I'm young, but I really have 8 years of mastering one category. So hopefully that's useful. I'm going to link that video in the description below for you guys to check out that. But it's fascinating, okay, to look at people who just look at exactly what they want. Surround themselves with people who might give them an opportunity and then work on themselves and the chops to get super good at something so that people might say, hey, you're really good at basket weaving. And it looks like you made it into the Olympics of basket weaving in Omaha, Nebraska. That's amazing. I bet that took a lot of hard work and dedication. You can say, yes, it did. And they can say, well, I'm looking for a manager for my X, Y, and Z. And you can say, wow, I bet I can just use the same skills that I used to become world-class at basket weaving to help you with your business. So really important, guys, to make it so, when I look at these businesses, sometimes you think, wow, that person is super lucky. But now I'm starting to think that it's not lucky. It is a combination of preparation, organization, skill development, personal development. Somebody asked me what my favorite books are, because I now have a list at bit.ly/reseller supplies of all the books that I like and all of the supplies I use. What's my favorite? I would say The Law of Success by Napoleon Hill. That's my favorite because every personal development book that I've read ever is based on this one book. It's 50 hours long. So if you were to plug that in the Audible over the next 6 months and listen to it on repeat, and when you get tired of it, maybe you switch to Eye of the Tiger to motivate yourself to putting in the work to getting really good at one of these categories. And that's it. You just turned off the rest of social media. You got to stay subscribed to my channel with the notification bell, but maybe you just turn off YouTube for a while. You would kill it. You would get extraordinarily good at one category. And I have that on my schedule right now. So the way that my schedule works now, I'm happy to share this with you guys. And I love all of you in my audience. Thank you so much for giving me the feedback. And I'm working on my speaking, which I really like. But this is part of the first part. So I essentially have 3 businesses going. I have a broadcasting business, which is this. This is my YouTube and my podcast. And to get higher in the broadcasting world, I need to learn how to speak clear, more concisely, more organized. I need to probably take a shower before I do this video. I need to get ready. I should probably have a better background. Make it so that the broadcasting element of it is really solid, really actionable, and then connect all the according things to it so that it makes sense. In this case, what broadcasting makes money off of is advertising. Right? So I can say, guys, this video is sponsored by my reseller field guide. You can purchase it in the link below for $35 with code YouTube. That's one revenue stream for this broadcast, right? And that's the guide that I use to go over my other business, which is my online store business. So I'm transitioning my thinking from reseller to online store owner. I'm an online store owner. That in itself is my second business, actually my first business, since it makes a lot more than my YouTube channel. That business, I want to get extraordinarily good at it. So I'm spending 4 hours a day on improving my resale business. Since it's also the largest percentage of my income, I want to work on it the most. So 4 hours a day of that. Now, my broadcasting business is this YouTube and podcast. I spend 2 hours a day on it because it's less of my income, but it's also a skill that I want to get really good at. So in the resale world, my goal over the next 6 months is to meet the best resellers that I can that are relevant to what I'm looking for. So do I want to build a pharma packs with 100 employees? I don't think so. That's a different model that I'm not as interested in. So I need to find the right online store owners that match what I'm looking for. Second part, broadcasting. What's my goal for broadcasting? I need to find YouTubers and broadcasters that earn that kind of income and see what they're doing, make sure that my skills are as high as them. And then finally, I am doing some consulting, right? So what I'd like to do from a consulting standpoint is I'd like to charge around $100 an hour. And I've been researching what is worth that. So I'm happy to say I haven't had a single consulting client ask for a refund, even though I have that. If for some reason you feel like my advice and my thoughts on your business are not worth it, I'll just give you your money back. That's the way I like to approach things. And for the consulting business, I've been researching what makes consultants worth money. So it comes down to actionable advice over time. So someone presents, hey, I'm in this situation right now where sourcing is a problem. I can say, what categories do you sell in? They might say, I don't sell in any specific categories. And I would say, well, that's where you need to start. You need to pick 1 to 3 categories that you want to sample. Doesn't really matter what they are, because if you are really good at selling tennis rackets, then it's similar when you transfer that to hard drives, okay? Because it's the same concept of grading, processing, learning how a market works, and then again, finding out where those products come from. So in order for me to build a consulting business that's solid, one, I need some advertising. So on this channel, I can say below, you can click on a link on my Calendly link and book a time for consulting that meets your schedule. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, I'll give you your money back. That's an advertising way for me to build up my consulting business. Then in all 3 of these businesses that I'm working on right now, you can learn to scale. So what that means is the coaching business is the least scalable. That's why I don't spend as much time on it, because I have to trade my time for money. But if I were able to hire someone and they were daily refinement coach number 4, and it was a little bit cheaper, and they could provide a similar service, like looking at someone's business and saying, you know what, you need to focus on the next 3 months, your photography. Your photography needs to improve. You know what you need to look on? Your listing. You're not listing consistently. So the final thought that I'll give to you guys is, I have been selling in this public store, Daily Refinement, which is also linked in the description below, since November. I have other stores, but that public store, I've listed between 30 and 60 items the entire time. And there's only been a few days that I sell less than 30 items, because I really never list less than 30 items, and I'm beyond the point where I have 30 sales. At around 4,000 items in this particular store with this kind of stuff, I was selling around 30 items, and I'm cruising in the 4,600 item range. So it's unlikely that I'll sell less than 30 items a day with the current level of optimization. So I want you guys to look at your business like that. Get great at one category. 2, make networking part of your routine. So maybe you go to the Chamber of Commerce meeting, you go to a couple coffees. Right now, everything is moved to Zoom. And finally, number 3, present yourself as a business. And then, one last thought before you leave. Again, like, comment, subscribe. The final thought is, I want everyone to think right now that you could be great. Okay, this hasn't really occurred to me. I thought I'll probably be successful because I'm going to work really hard and I like continuous improvement. But I've never thought of it as being great, like all-time great, historic great. That's never occurred to me, really. But the kid that's earning $500,000 a month, so $6 million a year at age 22, mentioned in the interview that he always thought he was going to be all-time great. So that's a different way of thinking. If you always thought you were going to be all-time great, you would act differently. You would dress differently. You would talk differently. You would talk to different people. All-time greats don't spend their time in the comments section, as Joe Rogan would say. All-time greats are really busy being all-time great at something. So appreciate you guys' time. Like, comment, subscribe. If you'd like, pick up my guide for $35 to help out the channel, and now you understand the back end of my broadcasting business. Or schedule some consulting. And I appreciate you watching the video. Smash the notification bell so that you can see the next video when it pops up. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend. Take care.